has worked together to really understand how we can support the town, Southold Town Planning Board in their environmental review. I think this is an instance just, where, there's an interaction between the community and the town government, the elected officials and the appointed officials. And there's really a void in a way that a group like us, our organization, has to fill to represent the individuals and the community, because the process is the town, as I said, the elected officials and the town government are facing so many challenges at this point that we feel like we're gathering not only our concern but expertise to help spread the word and understand the depth of the potentially the potential problems that this project is going to cause.
Right, and so with that, our current focus. So the Strong's Marine Storage Buildings project at the Strong's Yacht Center. And so where we're focused on right now is this location right here on the western side of Mattituck Inlet, or Mattituck Creek, about a mile south of the inlet. Before 2016, you'd know this area, this marina here is Mattituck Inlet Marina, and then it was recently purchased in 2016 by Strong's. And they've renamed it the Yacht Center, and they've put in some, they've made some upgrades to the property, and have made some investments in the facility, which has attracted more boaters to the inlet, which we found to be both a good thing and also not a good thing. When you talk about traffic and the impacts to wetlands along the area, speeding boaters, more people potentially dumping waste in the creek, and so it's really got us pretty focused here. And so if we zoom in a little bit more on the site here, what you'll see is this is the area that we are that's proposing to essentially go away. It's a 4-acre site with an elevation of about 50 feet, and over here in the western, well, this would actually be the southwestern portion, is the Mill Road Preserve. That's right around in here, and so this project is looking to basically take away this 4-acre forest, which would cut down over 630 mature trees, and then excavate out this entire land underneath. It's 134,000 cubic yards of sand. And that'll bring the elevation down from 50 feet down to about 10 feet. And then once that's done, the developer wants to put in 2 heated storage sheds that would sit 45 feet tall on top of the 10-foot elevation. So overall height would measure 55 feet. Total storage on the property right now amongst all these buildings, if I back up one, these 7 sheds comprise 69,000 square feet of indoor storage. These 2 buildings would be 1.5 times that amount. These are about 101,000 combined square foot. One is 52,000 square feet, the other is 49,000 square feet. Because they're heated, it also requires 8,000 gallons of propane to be stored on site. They'd put 4,000 gallons on this side and 4,000 gallons on this side, right near this heavily wooded area. And for some additional perspective, these 2 sheds here, what we used to call back in the day 6 and 7 shed. 7 shed is 28 feet high. 6 shed is 24 feet high. And this total building right here is 22,000 square feet. This building right here is 24 feet high and 15,000 square feet. So these 2 buildings that are proposed to go up would sit 17 feet higher than this tallest building here, and they would be 4.5 times as large as these 2 buildings put together. So it really is, it's just a massive project. This is the actual drawing, okay? And so these buildings, I mean, you can just see the size and scale. These are neighboring homes on North Drive. There's a home directly north, and there's a concrete retaining wall to hold back after this slope is cut. This slope here is still in the 45 to 48, 50 foot elevation range. there is a retaining wall that's proposed here that would run along this entire way. That's 875 feet of concrete retaining wall that would have to go up to hold the earth back from these buildings. And so these are the warehouses. You know, the developer has labeled these as potato barns. They are nothing like potato barns. If you look at the size and scale when you zoom in on these, I mean, this is the doorway where an actual person would enter. So I mean, these are the size of think the Amazon warehouse that was just built in West Hampton Beach. That's 100,000 square foot. That's essentially this area and this style building as well. What's left out of this is from the developer's file, but what's sort of left out of here is the impact to the tree line, and as well as you can't really see this concrete wall here. So it's not really built into the hill like a potato barn. It's actually an industrial warehouse, realistically.
So just to recap, you know, some of the key facts as to the potentially damaging aspects of this project. So that wooded hillside that you saw, they're required to measure mature trees and count them, but there are many other trees that will be, you know, eliminated there. So this is a habitat, natural habitat adjacent, as Stephen said, to the publicly owned Mill Road Preserve. So you can imagine the impact to not only the neighboring Mill Road Preserve, but to the community at large. Now, to haul away the 134,000 cubic yards of sand, this is going to be, you know, has to be done over land on the roads. There's two, you know, unengineered local roads that have access to this site. So not only all of the potential problems related to disturbing the natural hillside and both, you know, potential erosion issues and groundwater. There's this incredible amount of disruption that's going to happen through the transportation of this material. So to think that these heated, you know, yacht storage warehouses are going to be in place of this native forest is really hard to envision, especially right along the edge of the water, which is used for recreational purposes. And it's, you know, it's a natural feature that it's in the watershed that feeds into the sound. So, you know, as we're seeing the impacts of climate change with extreme storms and rising water levels, we need these water features to help us create buffers and to respond to the changes that we're going to see. So, you know, in addition to the wildlife and coastal fish habitat that will be disrupted, and I think we've noticed that there's a downplaying of this potential fire safety risk where there's really virtually no way to put out the fire, and if this facility were to, you know, have a fire while it was up, there's the neighboring, this is a residential neighborhood, so between the other forested areas and the individual homes that would be impacted, it's actually frightening. So you know, I think we're going to look at really, you know, what are the means by which we can, that we are responding already to the particulars of this project. It is the town planning board made a positive declaration in August 2020, so that there is an environmental impact review happening right now, and we'll go into the details of that, but you know, the purpose of that is to look at the potential impacts of the strip mining, water pollution, groundwater, the ecosystem, the notion of what is the character of the community, how is it going to be impacted. There's really a number of safety issues that we've talked about, not only the roadway, but the neighborhood. There's school buses, children that ride bikes, there's joggers that are, there's really no way they can be safe during this, while this project is being constructed. We like to emphasize also that the Mill Road Preserve is something that is an asset for the whole community. It's owned by the public, and it's virtually impossible not for it to be negatively impacted.
Right, and so as Ann mentioned, where we are now is Planning Board has received a copy of the DEIS, the Draft Environmental Impact Statement. They got that from the developer right around Christmas time, and then they asked for a little bit of extra time to review it to make sure that it is deemed adequate for public review. They are expected to make that determination at their meeting on April 11th. And once they do that, the official comment period will be opened for, we believe it's about 30 days from that determination date, from April 11th. We are on top of that period as much as we can be. And we plan to be sending out mailings through our MailChimp mailing list. So if folks are interested, and want help staying ahead of those dates, please feel free to join our mailing list, and we'll help make you help keep you informed. And so, with the DEIS, and I should note that the town is starting to take, certain comments on the project in general. They are filing them in their Laserfiche. So what we're asking here, and we're hoping everybody can do, is start to review the DEIS. It is 369 pages, the base document, and it also has hundreds, if not thousands, of other pages of appendices and diagrams, things like that. But a lot of it is sectioned off and sort of broken up into a more digestible format. And so things like water quality, air quality, noise, vibration, flooding, climate change, community character, slope stability, economic impacts, things like that are to be addressed in the DEIS, which is governed by a 28-page scope that the town sort of gave the developer and said, here's what we need to see in your DEIS. And so as you look at this DEIS, things you should ask yourself are, do you think it's complete and accurate? Is it truthful? Did the developer identify environmental impacts, or did they simply just gloss over and say no impact? And if they did identify an impact, did they offer enough mitigation and say that, no, this is the reason why? Cutting down 630 trees is okay because we're going to plant some seeds, saplings, somewhere else in town. Like, is that a viable environmental impact? Your comments can be sent to the planning department. Brian Cummings and Mark Terry are two of the guys that can be reached out to, or Heather Lanza as well. And they're the ones, they are a lead agency. And so one of the things that we're trying to do is sort of help the planning department, right? They are other than the planning board, the actual department, the planning department is only made up of 5 people. And they have 6 major projects under concurrent review right now. Everybody knows about the Enclaves, the Peconic Bay Winery Resort, the Mattituck Hotel, Brinkman's, Sports East and Peconic just got put on was just filed for their formal filing with the planning board and planning department. So they've got a lot on their plate. And, one of the things that we want to do is try to help them review this document, and we're hoping that the public, can get involved as well. And if anybody that's a member of North Fork Environmental Council has a particular area of focus or a skill set where you may be an expert in, flora and fauna or on groundwater or something like that, your comments would be, extremely valuable. If you have general comments, the town will also look at them as well. If you just, if you don't like the project, if you think that to your satisfaction, these environmental impacts are not being mitigated, make your voice heard. Write to the planning board, write to the planning department, tell them why. Just tell them, and one of the things that was raised in 2019 is that because this is such an intricate and large project, specifically the Strongs project, the town should consider hiring an outside consultant. A department of 5 members can only do so much. And, we can't just have them say, oh, this is too much for us to look at. I guess we can just, let this one through. We really need to keep focused on this, because once that forest is taken down, you can't bring it back. The cost of doing an independent review can be, the planning department can insist that the developer reimburse the town for the cost of that, and they should. And it's to everyone's benefit here to get, to make sure that there's an independent consultant that can review this project. So where are we right now? So we started about a year and a few months ago. We have more than 150 direct supporters. Those are people that are subscribed to our Facebook group, our Instagram page, and we started an online petition through change.org. And we have hit 2,586 petition signatures as of today, which is extremely humbling and something we're very proud of. Anne actually set a goal for us a while back of 2,000 signatures, and when we had about 100, I thought that was out of our reach, and we've broken through that, and it continues to go up. I think when we gave our last presentation to the Long Island Paddlers in February, the petition was at 2,200 signatures, and now we're up to almost 2,600. So it's something that we're extremely proud of, and also shows that we're doing the right thing here. People agree with us. They want to see this area preserved, and they don't want to see it destroyed.
There's a lot of detail that we're happy to go into. If we've gotten some questions in the chat that we can address in a minute. I think, as Stephen said, it's the number. I think, given the size of the community that we're part of, to have over 2,500 people voice their objection to this project, is notable. It shows that there's something wrong, that it's not in keeping with the character of the community. Individuals know where they live. We know who we are. We know our community. We know what's valuable to us. We know what will, continue to, give the feeling of home and, be true to what we think of as, North Fork values. And this project clearly does not sit with that. That's sort of the simple way of putting it. And, we've been spending a great deal of time looking at, very technical information related to levels of vibration that the trucks are going to cause, and parts of the carbon offset, how to measure the water pollution, ground level or the groundwater, looking at different plant and animal species that are going to be impacted. I mean, to get into the details only reinforces this message that this project is going to do, irreversible damage to what we think of as, our North Fork. And I think the simplest thing, or if you feel like you'd like to make an impact with a click, signing the petition is a good way to do that. Your voice will be heard that way. Our website presents an overview, and it's meant to be a resource. It's taking you to all the documents that are available through the town. This is a very transparent process. The developer has submitted their application for the building. The information is there. It can seem like a lot of information. It can seem very technical, but it's there and it's actually legible. Likewise, we put a great deal of effort into developing a very stringent scope that the developer has had to follow to develop to write the draft environmental impact statement that is also something that anyone can read. And it's in, I think it's clear once you do start reading the draft environmental impact statement that there's there's gaps and holes and sort of assumptions that if you don't really even have to read between the lines about whether whether this has been looked at thoroughly. So we're taking a very close look at it, and we'll be asking. We're making comments. We really would like to encourage anyone to voice their opinion about any facet of it. You don't have to be an expert on the whole document. You can, if there's as Stephen said, an area of interest that, are you a kayaker, or do you like to take walks in the preserve, or do you just take a daily walk, around in the neighborhood, and, so you have feet on the ground, what it feels like and what it would feel like to have the 40 truckloads going by every day, dump trucks per day during the time that the sand is going to be mined, from the hillside. So, we're asking, actually the town planning board needs this information. They need to know our perspective, your perspective on what this project feels like. And so it's a pretty simple process. It's really just, what do you think? How do you feel about this? And if you'd like to get into, taking on any specific section of it and, looking at how you respond, does it feel like a legitimate, argument that's being made, or, does it raise questions? And, quite simply saying that is something that the town planning board will be able to, they'll read all the comments, and that will go into whether they, how they respond to the draft environmental impact statement. And I guess, feel free to send emails at any time. We're happy to look over if you have something drafted, or if you have an outline of something or a couple of questions that you'd like. We'd be delighted to get back to you, have a chat on the phone, or look at a draft of a letter, and, clarify anything that you have, any questions that you have.
Right. We've tried to sort of distill some of it down and make it a little, the town files are kind of little, they store everything. And so they can be a little cumbersome to navigate. And so that's why, on our website, we've tried to bring in sort of the most important pieces, the draft scope, or actually the final scope, the DEIS. And, I think once the comment period gets opened up, we can start putting a little bit more on our website as well. And the QR code, you could scan it right off the screen right here on your mobile device, or you can, visit say mattituckinlet.com. We've put a lot of thought, and we try to keep it as updated as possible for everybody. And
Stephen, just so I see we have a question going to our website. Is the draft environmental impact statement link right at the beginning of the website, or is there a page that people go to?
Right. So the petition is right at the forefront of our page. If you click on current focus, that'll take you into the high points here. And then if you go into files, in files there, we had our own fact sheet, and further down are the Southwell Town files. And those are downloadable PDFs. And then we also have our, some of the press coverage that's been from the Suffolk Times, things like that. We have that on the website as well.
So the draft environmental, the statement that people can look at is in the
under files. Yep. It's the first one. If you scroll to the bottom, when you click on files, when you get to our homepage, it's the first one as you scroll down in the list of the downloads. Okay.
If anyone needs any help finding it, or has any questions, let us know. You can send an email. And I see there's a few other questions. I didn't mean to cut you off, Stephen. You were...
No, that was it.
There's some questions that have come in on different aspects of the project. I think the first one was about property tax contributions, and I believe you had taken a look at that. when we were looking at, the economic impact, the pros and cons of the economic impact.
Right. So there is actually, I think, a tax abatement schedule for this property. So I think, are people talking about the increased tax revenue from this development? Is that like what I'm gathering there?
I'm not sure, from Mark, I think.
Property tax contributions for the project. Right. So there would be an increase in the developer's property taxes, but those would be offset by there is a tax code number for the abatement, and it would sort of phase in over, I think it's 5 to 7 years, something like that. So there's no immediate, there's very little immediate benefit to the tax base.
And I know that as we've gotten into there's a question about the number of truckloads of sand, and there's actually quite a bit of inconsistency, and it's somewhat obscure as to how exactly, in what size truck, in what time frame, whether the time periods in terms of when the trucking is going to start and when it's going to end. Stephen, are you comfortable with some sort of characterization of what's actually being proposed? It's not, as I understand it, fully clarified in the DEIS.
Right. There's some inconsistencies between what's in the construction schedule in the DEIS main document versus what's in the appendix. For the construction schedule, I think there's a total of 3 different construction schedules. The overarching theme is that they can do this work 6 days a week up until 7 o'clock at night. And so, varying statistics on the number of trucks being used and the number of trailers. Also, what defines a truck trip? Is it round trips? Is it single trips? And so, by quick calculations, if there are 32 trucks entering and exiting, which we would assume then those would be individual trips, that's 64 trips per day, 6 days a week, over a given period of time of about 10 months. I think that comes out to about 16,000 truck trips, and that's just the dump trucks for hauling the sand. That's not the construction phase of building 1, and then the construction phase of building 2, building the concrete retaining wall. That's another, so the truckloads, the truck trips are in the thousands, the many thousands, and it's scheduled. One construction schedule says 7 months. We've done some back of the envelope calculations there. We think it's much longer than that. Particularly, there's a call for a pause for construction, for excavation and construction during, I think it's September and October, during the fall season. So they recognize that the traffic would be extremely intrusive, particularly around the farm stand and the pumpkin pickers and things like that. So they would actually pause this for 2 months while that subsides. So that could also cause further delays in this project.
Let's see, thanks, Stephen. There's a question about the tree code, whether the town or, Mattituck and Southold has a tree code. I think we've looked into it, and there's a tree committee, but it's primarily deals with street trees, and it doesn't appear to have a sort of overarching mission for protecting, trees in wooded areas. That's what we've preliminarily concluded. And we are looking, there's a question about whether this project conforms to the comprehensive plan. There's the comprehensive plan, which is a really great document that a lot of people worked very hard on over a period of a long time to help give shape to the future of the North Fork. We are using it as a guideline, and it's we're looking to the language of the comprehensive plan and how it relates to this project. It's I think it's a kind of document where it's not a code, it's more something that you have to interpret. So we are looking to support our position through the comprehensive plan. There was a question about how let's see, it's Debbie asked if we would be posting some of our comments to the website, which is actually a great idea. Initially, we're asking for the comments to go directly to the town planning board. We can put those 2 emails back up in the chat if you need to. Those comments that once they're sent into the town planning board are available to be read by anyone. They're part of the Laserfiche file, so you know they are public in that way. And but I like your suggestion that we could also make them available, you know, through our website.
Yeah, we could add them to the files. You know, so that way it's downloadable straight from our webpage for sure.
A question about what defines a yacht and what is the criteria to be a yacht.
So a yacht is typically a larger boat, but you know, everybody's definition of that is a little different. Some people think a 60-foot boat is a yacht. Some people think a 150-foot boat is a yacht, and some people think 30-foot boats are yachts. So it's kind of an interchangeable, to me anyway. I'm a lifelong boater, but to me it's sort of an interchangeable term until you get up into the you know, 80-foot, 60 to 80-foot range. And that's what they're looking to store is to attract these much larger boats to this area. And so, you know, these 2 buildings are proposing to hold 88 on average 60-foot boats. And so when you count up the amount of storage that's there, you know, add that to the 56 boats that they can already store, or, you know, give or take 50 or so boats, you now have 145 large boats on the inlet. You know, can the inlet hold that many boats and that much traffic? Remains to be seen. Can the marina hold that many in the water? The answer is no. I think there's only about 42 or 46 in water slips. So when it comes time to drop these boats off to be hauled, or time to put them in the water, where would they all go? That's something we need to look into. I'm not sure if it's been mentioned in the DEIS yet. I haven't gotten to that section just yet, but I'd imagine that's going to be a large undertaking.
And to follow up question, the proposed yachts, the kind of, I guess, sort of the marketing angle that we've heard is that these are going to be yachts that come from, you know, far away, and they need to be stored here over the winter. And it's not intended, I believe, to be, you know, appealing to the local community. It's for a certain clientele where they have 60, 80, 100-foot yachts.
Right. There's very few local folks with boats that big, so they're just trying to, you know, attract, you know, from anywhere where they can, you know, and that could be other local marinas. And now you see a shift from other local marinas. Everybody starts rushing to Mattituck to store their boats. You know, how many people will come from out of state? It's kind of hard to tell. You know, the developer's bank, you know, we had a conversation with him when he first proposed this project, and the developer's bank will only give him financing for the first building until he can show 60% occupancy in that building. And then they'll give him financing for the second building, is what he told us. And so what that leads us to believe is that there is no proven demand necessarily if sort of the bank's not buying it, right? And that's a pretty big gamble to build something that big and go through this exercise, not knowing that you have, you know, a proven demand for it.
Carolyn McCall was asking why there is a tax abatement. Stephen, this is your area.
So I was actually, I pulled up the DEIS. I don't know if anybody saw that while I was looking at that. I am trying to find out what the, it's called a 485B business investment exemption. And it's based on a sliding scale over 10 years. So for the first 3 years, there would be a 50% reduction for the increased assessment attributable to the new buildings. And for each year after, the reduction would decrease in year 4, 40%, and then 30%, 20, 10, and then 5%. So I think it's an incentivization for expansion.
And that's part of the town code. Is it? I mean, that's.
Yes, that's through the Southfield Assessor's office supplied that information.
Yes, to your point, Mark, about the, every step of this project, the irreversibility of it is underscored. So, the proposed economic viability, which, let's just say, yet to be confirmed, you have to strip the 4 acres of trees in order to start the excavation, in order to, put in the retaining walls. And let's just say the project doesn't move forward. You can't go backwards. You can't, rebuild the hillside. You can't replant the tree, mature trees, and, have the hills, have the forested area back. So it's this, the risk of, there's a high risk that these things are going to happen, and then we won't, we don't want the project in the first place, but even to get to the point where it's starting construction is, the damage is done.
Right. And if for some reason, the plan was never to actually build these buildings in the first place, then, we've just experienced sand mining, right? People don't like to use that word, but that's the simple fact is if you take out this entire forest and take out the sand, I don't know what else you'd call it besides mining, excavation, I guess. You still have to put the wall up, and whether you build nothing or one building, you'd still have to do it. And so is it a sand mining operation disguised as a construction project? We don't know that for sure, but it is something that we've been concerned about since day one, because that is a way to say, oh, the DEC, this is out of your jurisdiction because it's not sand mining, and then say, oh, we'll build the buildings later. And then, like Ann said, if they never get built, and everybody says, oops, sorry. Well, that's a big sorry. You can't put all this back. That's our big concern, is it's irreversible.
Well, thank you so much for that presentation. I guess if everyone goes to the website, they can really find all of the information they need to follow up.
Yeah, definitely. And if anybody has any questions, if they think we didn't cover anything or want to have any follow-up discussions off to the side, shoot us an email. We're always happy to engage and chat with people about this.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I just, if I may, there was one last question that came up about which addresses this idea of that, we've begun to use the word cumulative to look at the effects of this project and the 6 other developments that we mentioned, and the idea that the town government really isn't able to look at the cumulative effort is something that we're concerned about, and think that the members of the the town board, it's really in their jurisdiction. It's out of the town planning board's area. The town board needs to really look deeply into that question.
Okay, well, thank you so much for all the information. And I am recording this, so hopefully we'll be able to put it on our website too for other people who weren't able to see it tonight.
Thank you so much. We really appreciate your giving us access to your group and all of the support that we've gotten. It's been wonderful to have North Fork Environmental Council as a partner, and we look forward to keeping the conversation going.
Okay. All right. Thank you. All
Thanks,
right.
everyone.
Have a good night.
You too.